Everyone.
Greetings,
Welcome
Internet.
to The Patch. This week's episode is brought to us by Audible.com and Dollar Shave Club. We're going to talk more about them in a bit.
Okay.
Hey, look, you can see them right there. Audible and Dollar Shave Club.
Oh, we have graphics.
It's fancy. All right,
The future is now.
let's get the patch started. Hit us up there.
Can I have a sound effect for that?
We need to make...
I think you just made it.
Do I have to repeat that every time?
You're allowed a
Well,
variation.
you just made it. I'm sure someone's going to record it and they'll send it to us, and then that's it.
By the way, look, there's the special. Look, it happened. It's been flipped. You missed it.
All right, we're ready to go. So
The set's different.
the set's a little
The set is
different.
a little different.
We're bringing I mean, it's, I don't want to get into everything, but we kind of pushed that back a bit to try to get a little more depth. The black grid is not in place yet. That'll be back for next week's show.
Okay. You're like further away.
The desk is a little bigger
not
too.
so much, but you further away.
See, now we have room for the hourglass over there. I don't feel awkward putting my arm up here.
We should put like a chessboard
Holy
here,
shit!
like a three-way
You just blew
chessboard.
my mind doing that with the iPad.
By moving
Dude.
things?
Look at there's space. There's so much room for activities.
God damn it! I was just
We need like Chinese
just doing
checkers so
that
we can
one.
play as we talk.
Or we can get one of those like, I don't know, like a giant Surface tablet in there.
Yeah.
What's the like the
Multi-touch.
6-way checkers?
Yeah. Or no, we need one of those big 4K Microsoft Surface things they showed. Yeah.
That's like 85.
Like a
Like
low
What to
tech.
do flowcharts on?
I mean, we could. I'm sure there's other applications. I'm sure there's like a puddle game where people can pop.
and we keep
There's always a puzzle.
we keep
There's
Twitter on
always.
there and topics and stuff to talk about.
Maybe Snake.
I made Snake.
There's always Snake.
I mean, it's cutting edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they own Nokia now, right? Nokia always had Snake on all of their phones.
They did,
Yeah.
yeah. It goes back to QBasic days, doesn't it? That's the origin of Snake. Snake and Gorillas were both in QBasic.
Yeah.
That used to be the only game on my high school computer that you could just get on it and play. It's like, oh, just you exit out to DOS, launch QBasic. It's like, hey, Gorillas.
Does YouTube still do a game of Snake?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. It was if you saw the loading screen, like
yeah,
the little
and if
loading
you,
circle.
if you did like one of the arrow keys, then it would just launch into a game of Snake. I don't know if
Yeah.
it still does that, but that was cool.
I don't know.
It was a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah.
I recently, speaking of Easter eggs, just a couple of weeks ago, I discovered that when Chrome can't connect to a website, it shows that little dinosaur. You can play a
Yeah.
little game with him and make
Really?
him
You
jump.
can?
Yeah, jump over cactuses and stuff. I think you just hit the space bar and he
Oh.
jumps.
I've seen a couple different iterations of the little dinosaur. Maybe I missed something, but I like the one where it's like,
Yeah. Well,
By the
now,
way-
now
he's
he
a cute
jumps.
dinosaur.
Mr. Gus Sorola.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
Gus.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Gus. Ryan on top of things today.
Well, I've realized we got this far in. We talked about everything but who we are.
Right, so we were talking about the important stuff like
Wow.
Snake.
So
Snake is important.
speaking of Gus,
All right. In other
Tell
Gus
us more.
news.
in other Gus news, I've become very fascinated lately with watching, not all speedruns, but watching certain speedruns and so you their conference call. I think their conference call was
Yeah, it was
yesterday.
during the earnings call,
Okay.
which is very, very impressive.
That's
and good for
surprising
them.
because I felt like Mass Effect was such a huge series. And
Right, which isn't an indication against Mass Effect, it's an indication in favor of Dragon Age.
There you go. Positive spin. That's what it's all about.
I'm really excited about Dragon Age.
someone's familiar with marketing and PR.
I just want everyone to be happy.
No, it's a great game. If you don't like,
Talk of-
Something like that.
Talk about music reminds me of something that happened when I was in college where I was just hanging out in my dorm room and all of a sudden my computer, of its own accord, just started playing this weird, spooky, creepy music. And I couldn't understand. It's just like, I mean, no one was touching it. It just all of a sudden started slow, eerie music. It's like, what the hell is going on? And I'm looking at it and I'm like unplugging the speaker and plugging it back in and it keeps coming out and keeps coming out. Turns out, if you remember the game Dungeon Keeper,
Yeah.
it had on CD audio. And for some reason, my CD player on the computer had launched and just started playing the soundtrack to Dungeon Keeper. Or I think it was Dungeon Keeper 2.
yeah, that's really bizarre.
It was one of those hybrid discs where you
Yeah.
could put it in a CD player and it would play the,
Yeah.
the soundtrack. So yeah, it was just very odd that it suddenly launched itself and played really creepy sounding
I can
music.
see how it would be weird for that particular music to come up.
Right, yeah. I mean, it was very eerie. I wish I had a good sample of it, but yeah, it's just very eerie music to suddenly start coming out of your room. Well, and the other thing was, initially, since no one was touching the computer, we had no reason to even look at the computer. We were just like looking around
Just
the
there was
room trying to
music
figure out
coming
where
at
this
you.
weird music. It was like life suddenly had a soundtrack and we were about to be murdered.
It's and what a great soundtrack as well. It's like, oh, something bad's really gonna
It was
happen
like,
right
oh
now.
shit, movies are right.
Man, I love game of soundtracks. I used to go into like the pack files or whatever it took, and I'd actually rip those out so I could listen to them whenever. Those are the days.
I miss those hybrid discs when you would put them in and be like, oh, let's launch the audio player and see if it actually plays anything. And be like, oh, wow, awesome. There's actually stuff there. I remember I want to say it was when the original Xbox first came out that you could pick up your pre-ordered game discs like 4 or 5 days before you could get the console. So I went to my GameStop and I got my discs, but I had no console to put them in. So I put them into my PS2 and just to see what happened. And the intro, like the Xbox logo at the beginning, apparently was just like an MPEG-2 file because I put it in my PS2 and it played that. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
So weird.
Yeah, then of course.
At first,
nothing
did you
else
think it was going to
happens.
play the game for you? And then it was like,
I'm stupid enough
psych.
where I'm like, oh, it might. No, not at all.
Of course not.
Yeah. But it's just like, I used to like doing that. You're just trying to put a piece of physical media in another device to see what would happen.
And be like, what kind of abomination will this create?
I'm normally super skeptical and I hate everything. Let it be known. This is the one time I'm getting on the hype bandwagon as soon as they announced it. It's on the record.
Can we get a box quote?
I'm excited for HoloLens.
Gus, I like to say, I think that speedrunning has made a really positive impact on your
I think we
life.
should watch a lot more of them.
I think you're turning it around.
I'm speed running right to the positive feelings. Here, I'm going to read